I've worked in a multinational company, moving into a startup, and then a local small and medium enterprise, which is Avocado. So for me, my definition of a product manager is probably consistent across all these different ones to maximize the value that your product brings to the business and to the environment that the product is actually operating in. So as a product manager, you roll things out that actually maximize the value of a product in the environment that your product is sort of operating in, and bring in business value in that sense. But that said, the role of the product manager, I feel, differs slightly according to the company that you're in, and there are certain emphasis on skills that may not be as relevant for like different types of companies. So I'll start off with a multinational company. So and I feel that, like, personally for me, I think in a multinational company, I mean something like TikTok, which Aishwarya would also might also agree with, is that there's a lot of organizational structure. There's different departments, roles are very clearly defined, and things like that. So you have like, I mean, I was working in a pharmaceutical firm, so it's a healthcare firm. And you have to be able to know how to navigate the organization structure to suit your products, because your product may not serve just one particular business user, and you might need the cooperation of another business user, or another business unit, just to make sure that the delivery of your product goes smoothly and stuff like that. So in MNC, I feel knowing how to navigate the organization structure and influencing different stakeholders that are not directly impacted by a product is very important. The second thing is also to understand what's your business objectives and align your product with it. Because in a huge multinational, they have like a whole variety of products. How do you make sure that your product stands out, and at the next round of budgeting or financing, it won't get cut off? What you have to do is sort of align your product's vision together with the business objectives. And that's the second one. And the third one is sort of to learn, I think, in the diagram that Aishwarya showed earlier, you need to know a bit of budgeting, and you need to know a bit of finances and stuff like that, because you need to do resource planning and whatnot. So it's all these different, I think these three are the main skills that I sort of learned from working as a product manager in MNC, and that's sort of what I feel they will look out for as well. Yeah. And then moving on to the next one, which is like a startup. I think everybody knows a startup is very scrappy, moves really quickly and things like that. And the startup that I was looking at was not like Grab, or was not like Gojek or whatever. They are actually a startup that was in stealth mode, which means that they actually haven't like announced their product to the world. They were just reaching out to specific like companies. So at that point of time, I think the skills that were like that I really developed and that were really highlighted was my ability to sort of determine what is the minimum viable product for our department, and what is the product market fit that we're trying to get to. I think for a startup where you're sort of trying to figure out where you stand within the market itself, being able to quickly do the pivots, test and validate your product, and come up with the minimum viable product is really important, because you don't want to waste time coming up very nice 100% done product only to realize that it didn't fit what the market needs, and then you have to do that pivot, and then you have to retest and validate again. So that was something that I think those were skills that I think in a startup was really emphasized. And then moving on to a local SME, just to give some context, the Avocado is a small and medium enterprise. The founder is local, and they've been here for about 4 or 5 years, since 2016. And I find that when I came into SME, I really had to learn how to adapt to the founder working style and his role, because he used to be the product manager, because he's the CEO, and he was actually directing the product vision in a way. So then as a product manager, when you come in, you sort of have to take over what he was doing, while also managing him as an important stakeholder, because then he has to learn how to switch from a product manager to someone who is a bit more strategic or visioning and stuff like that. And you sort of have to adapt to that, because you're executing on his vision or the combined vision of the two of you. And then another thing that I realized as well is that it's also very scrappy, like a startup. But then because the product has already gone to market, and the team is sort of trying to keep the product alive and going and moving forward, I had to learn how to set processes while keeping the team agile, because those processes would cut down inefficiencies in terms of bug resolving and delivery and stuff like that. And I also had to sort of coordinate between multiple teams. I think as a product manager, everyone would agree that you have to work across like a bunch of different teams. But my ability to sort of manage communication across different teams was really tested in a small and medium enterprise. But yeah, that's sort of my take on what are the skills that a product manager would probably emphasize on in different companies.